How's it going, guys, and welcome back to another City Skylines video. So as you can see, we are back on Maraluna Island. This is episode 2. In the first episode, we set up our starting town sort of area, you know, in the initial tiles, and we set up a bit of an industrial area and some farmland to get some money coming in. And I think it was quite a successful episode. I also do really want to thank you guys for the, support on the first episode. It's actually doing really well. As of recording, it's up to about 7,000 views, and that's still growing. And there's also a lot of likes and comments that are going along with that, so I really, really do appreciate it. And if you've clicked on this episode, you're obviously in it for the long haul and excited about the series, so that, that makes me really happy as well. So thanks very much for sticking around. So yeah, I don't want to blab on for too long. I just want to get stuck into it and start, improving the city. So the plan for this episode is quite simple. I'm not too sure how much we'll get done. Because I really want to keep the videos between that 30 to 50 minute length. I think that first episode was a really good length, so I'm going to try and stick around that. But the plan for this isn't to do anything too crazy. It's mainly just a slight expansion, and then also a big improvement on what we've already got. So especially this main town area. If we zoom into it, there's not a lot going on. It's just a bit of a wacky grid pattern. It's not even a grid, it's just a random weird road layout, which we've then zoned some stuff in. So I do really want to improve this. I need to unlock some things first, like parks and more city services, before I can really make it look good. So before we get to that, I actually want to try and expand towards the water over here. I think it would be a good idea to buy a few tiles. And I think it'd be really, really nice. I briefly mentioned it in the first episode, but I didn't have much of a plan then. But I think it'd be really cool to actually have a beachfront just here, right by the main entrance. I think it'll look really, really good, actually. And this part of the town or future city, let's say, won't be particularly high density. I think the higher density areas will be sort of other side of this mountain, or where the current town is, actually. So it's going to be sort of like a surfing village-y type of thing, and I think that could be really, really cool. So mostly just some waterfront housing, and maybe a couple shops here and there, but nothing too crazy. I also don't want to encroach on the farmland too much, so I think these ones will stay. This may have to go, I'm not too sure, but we'll see. And I'm not too sure how far this way will go, but I do want to try and up the population a bit. Mainly so we can level up and unlock a few extra things. So yeah, that's the overall plan. We'll start with this and then hopefully come back to the main part of town later on in the episode. So first thing we've got to do is purchase some more tiles. So let's jump into this view here. And this is a good time to point out the tile shapes that I actually did when editing this map before the first episode. Because I didn't really show it off in the first episode. But as you can see, they just sort of align with the terrain a bit better, like the hills. I think it looks a bit better. So in terms of the expansion, I'm going to want to get all 3 of these pretty soon, but I don't know if there's much point in buying this one just yet. Actually, let's just save us some money and only purchase the tile that we're actually going to be building in. So let's just grab this one. I think later in the episode when we come back to the main town, I might also purchase this one. But for the start of this episode, let's just get this one. 23,000. Easy peasy. I also think I'm going to, when I build the actual beach part of this, expand the terrain out just a little bit. So I might buy these 2 water tiles as well. These are really cheap because when I was in the map editor, I set them up as, ocean tiles. I don't know what difference that makes. I hope it doesn't mean that I can't build on it. I guess we'll find out. But anyway, they're very, very cheap. And there we go. That's our first expansion. So let's get the terrain tool and just flatten bits of it out. The problem is that this hill really, really encroaches on the water. Like, there's no space here, realistically. And so we'd either have to bring the mountain back a bit, or bring the beach forwards, or of course build some houses up into the hills, which is something I'd like to do eventually, but it can be quite difficult to get that to look good, so I'm not too sure how confident I am with that. But anyway, first things first, let's expand the terrain out a bit. And I do also have our sewage pump here I think I should leave it. I don't really want to mess with that already. I'm not too sure how we want to do this, but I think I'll revisit that. And I am actually going to bring it back into this hill just a little bit. I don't want to impact it too much. I think that'll do for the moment. Let's smooth this out a bit. There we go. I think that's pretty good. I think what could actually look quite good on this side, you know, if we're leaving this pump here, which I think is okay. Obviously, it does sort of mean it's going to be polluting a nice beach, but I don't think this will be the main beach, you know, of our city, so it's not too important. But what could look cool is just like a little break wall sort of sticking out here, just to make it look like there's, you know, almost like the entrance to a river here, which there isn't, but I think that could look alright. Not that angle though, I think maybe more straight out like this. And we can obviously come in here and cover this with rocks. That'd be the plan. There we go. Let's leave that. And what that does mean is that we can bring the beach out with a bit more of a curve, you know, because it can come straight into this break wall. Sort of like that. I'm noticing my money isn't going down at all, which is quite unusual. I'm not too sure. I thought these terrain sculpting tools usually did burn through a lot of money, but I could be wrong. I'm going to chuck a sand texture in there now as well. Just to sort of, I don't know, map it out in my head a bit better. I will probably come in later and fix up the surface, but let's just get a bit of a base in there. I do have the golden sand and the white sand assets from PDX Mods. I think everyone sort of uses them. They're very, very good. You also have these lighter ones, which sort of blend into the grass, which I think looks really, really good. So that's what I'll probably add in a bit later when I detail it up. But for the moment, let's just use the white sand base. There we go. I'm also going to get in with some of this wet sand, just to blend it a little bit. Oh, I need to turn Anarchy on for that. Forgot about that. I think that's probably fine for the moment. I do want to try and cover up this edge under the water so that's not so visible. I think the water's just really shallow here because it's usually not quite that visible. But we'll fix that later, and also we'll be adding some wave assets over the top anyway, so it might not be too bad. And I don't want to do the blending at the top yet because I still don't really know what I'm going to be having along the beach. You know, I don't know if I want a road into a car park into the beach or some sort of greenery first. Not too sure, so we'll revisit that later. It's also quite likely that we extend the beach right around in the future, but we'll get to that later. What I might do is actually the water break. So to do this, I'm firstly going to raise it up just slightly. Let's maybe go up 2 meters from where the beach is. So we'll go 5 meters. Make that a bit smaller. And just raise it up a bit higher. Is that not higher? Maybe I need to go even... Maybe I need to go to 5. Not too sure if that pump's still in the water. I might need to move this, to be honest. Just use the relocate tool and just put it over this way a bit. Now we're going to get a pavement path and just put that along here. Or maybe I want something a bit wider. I think that's better. And we'll put a bit of a bend on it, why not? I accidentally did a bend in the terrain, but I'm going with it. And we'll connect this up to some road or something in the future. I'm not too sure yet. Now that we got that, let's come in with some rocks. Which are in here, I believe. Yep, we'll get the random boulder. I think the big ones are probably best. I think little are just, yeah. Might scatter some in, but big ones are good. Can use the advanced line tool. And, of course, reduce this distance. Let's see, is 5 good? I think 5's okay, but 4's going to be a bit better. Obviously, we'll follow the terrain. I do want a bit of variation. Let's do some spacing and offset variation, as well as random rotation. There we go. This will look good. There we go. I think that's the main sort of base of rocks that we need. Let's just get a couple more in here. Looking good. I'm now just going to get rid of the line tool and just place some individually, you know, to make it look like some have fallen. Some on the sand as well will look awesome, I think. I think that's looking awesome, to be honest. It's probably a good idea to also get some trees in here and some bushes and things like that. And let's get our mixed forest brush without anarchy and just see where we can fit some in. Oh yeah, that's working really well. Let's lower the brush strength actually. Nice. Wouldn't this just be a lovely place to walk? Obviously once there's a bit of a town here, it'll be even better. So the next thing to do is think about the road network over here and mainly how we are connecting it to this part of the town. The obvious choice is to just put a road straight into this main rural highway, which I think for the moment we'll have to do, because the only other option is squeezing a road along here, which I could probably add in as well. Maybe it's good to have two options into this part of the town. For future, obviously this is going to extend all the way around this hill, so it won't be as important, but yeah, that was my main thinking. I think I will just connect to this road for the moment. And that way we can at least get some zoning in here as well. So let's get started on that. Once again, we're not going to be using any massive roads over here. None of these are going to be main streets. This is just a little small town for the moment. So I'm going to be mainly using the custom 2-lane road without markings. That is literally identical to the 2-lane road, except it doesn't have that yellow line in the middle. And we're also going to be using some alleyways, some one-way alleys, and some alleys with parking as well, potentially. So yeah, let's get drawing. There's a lot of floating trees here, and that makes me think that this map was made with all the shrubbery and stuff set to like retain height, which might prove to be a problem, because there are also some floating trees over in the water here, I've noticed, which I do need to get rid of. So that might be a bit of a hassle. Yeah, these trees are floating too. What a pain. Okay, so we've got a bit of a road layout. It's a little bit wacky, similar to what I did in the first episode, where I've got some one-way lanes. And I've also got a couple of back alleys that have some parking on them. I was going to do parking right along the beachfront, but I just don't think this area is going to be built up enough to require that. There's not going to be many services over here, only a couple shops, and then it's just going to be all low-density housing pretty much. So I think this will be plenty of parking. Plus, a lot of these roads actually have parallel parking on them anyway, so we should be absolutely fine. But with that in there, I now want to essentially decorate the beachfront a bit more before I start plopping some houses. So essentially anything this side of the road, I'm going to be decorating. So let's get started with that. So there we go, lads. I think I'm finally done decorating this beach. That took me way longer than I thought it would. I could still do more, but one thing I don't want to do is make it look too built up or too, modern, because this is only a small part of town, as I've mentioned many times already. To help with that look, I wanted to make it look slightly less manicured, so to fix that I essentially just put some random trees along the way. But we do also have these palm trees which are evenly spaced all the way along. I think that looks great. As you can see, I've got a bike lane going through the middle part. I did spend ages with Road Builder trying to get the bike path actually built into the side of the road, but that was really, really hard to do, and once I finally got it, there was a bunch of bugs with the intersections and them not sort of lining up properly. So I decided to just place a bike path manually next to it. And as you can see, at the main intersections, we have these wider paths going down onto the beach, which I've disguised with some sand. So, and there's also some invisible paths along the beach as well. I'm not sure if pedestrians will use them, but if they do, it'll look really, really good. So that's why that is in there. In the future, we could maybe come back to this beach and add a few more things like some skate parks or outdoor gyms and, maybe some little stands on the beach. There's all sorts of things we can do over here, but I think I'm happy with this for the moment. So the next part is to actually get some buildings in here. Now, for the other part of town, I did just zone it all and watch it all sort of spawn. I want to do a bit of zoning here, but the problem is with some of these roads is if I want to squeeze as many houses in here as I actually want, I'll probably need to hand place them. So I think the plan will be to hand place just some main buildings, like some shops on the main roads and that sort of thing. And then I will do probably a big zoning then with some residential stuff just to get the bulk of the houses in. But then to really fill it out, I'm going to go back in and hand place some more houses. One thing I also need to do is keep some spaces for parks and things, because I do want this to be a really high quality living area, and so parks and things like that is the best way to do that. But I haven't unlocked them yet, so I can't really do that yet. I just got to leave some gaps and try not to fill them in. But yes, that's the plan. Let's get placing some shops, I guess we'll start with. Even though there's no demand at the moment, hopefully once we get the houses in, there will then be that demand for them. Because we are also having some worker shortages out on the farms, as you can see. We've got a lack of labor. So hopefully this will help a bit with that. And when I get back to the main part of the town, I'm going to be increasing the density over there, which should also help with that lack of labor problem. So I thought I'd start by looking at some of the signature buildings that we've unlocked, most of which are from, custom assets on PDX Mods. So I don't want to go overboard with them. But I do think some look really good. So, for example, I've got these two Australian pubs, which I think would look absolutely incredible. I'm not sure if they'd go right on the waterfront or maybe back one. Not too sure. We do also have this fish and chip shop, which is just such a cool, unique asset. And I could definitely see this being a fish and chip shop somewhere in Australia. Like, it is just, it's so coastal, it's so Aussie. It looks really, really good. We also have this, which is not named properly. It says US Northeast low com something or other, and I think this building looks really good as well. I have a Taco Bell asset. I think that would look really funny, and it would probably fit the area, to be honest. So maybe I'll squeeze that on one of these back roads, but we'll do that later, I think. And then we will look at the residential ones. There is this building, the Sapphire, which seems like it's a bit too high density for this area, but if we imagine this as like a hotel sort of thing, I can definitely see that being here. So I actually think I'm going to use this asset, and hopefully I can get it to fit in well. Anyway, I think I'm going to start with this Aussie pub, the Napier Hotel. I might put this right on the corner here by the roundabout. That's probably going to be best. So let's turn off road snapping and try and squeeze it in here. I think I'm going to need to use Anarchy if I wanted to go right up against the roundabout, which I think I do. So let's place it like that. There we go. How good does that look? Love it. I also want to get the fish and chip shop in. Might put that over on this street. That's probably a good idea. We've also got the base game tea salon, which I actually think will look pretty good. So let's get this somewhere on the main street as well. I think on this corner will look good. And finally, I think we will just try and get the Sapphire building. Maybe putting it over here is a better idea. There. Nice. Now, I think these two blocks are going to be the sort of shopping district, so I'm going to place just some regular shops down now. Definitely want to get a petrol station in here. I think having that back a bit. Oh, and there we go. We've leveled up. Milestone 3. That'll be useful. I'll have a look at that a bit later, though. I think that's a BP, isn't it? Not quite. It's a Mac 4000. But same branding, I think. I think what I'd like to put in the back of this block is actually some row housing. I think that'll be a really good spot for it. So let's get some of that in. I am going to hand place it just because the zoning grid hasn't worked out here at all. So that's the plan. Wow, what a building that is. I think that goes really well next to the pub. There we go. I'd say that's one block done, and that's looking pretty good, but pretty colourful as well, actually, which I really like. I do just want to change this one though. Maybe to like a lightish yellow colour. I now just want to place a few more buildings by hand, mainly along this road coming in, and also a little bit, you know, in this block potentially. But once I've done that, I think I then want to start zoning some more residential in the outskirts of this little beach town, because I really want to start getting this filled up and getting some people in. Alright, so what I've done is just gone around to the zoning grids that are actually sort of in a good spot where I think the houses will look good. And I've chucked some low residential in there. So with that, we're actually going to hit play finally for the first time in this episode. And just watch some of that fill in. And hopefully this doesn't go too badly. So let's hit play. Now I've immediately exhausted all of my housing demand, which I didn't really think through, but because I've placed all these medium densities, you know, there's not much demand, but it is still filling out a bit. So instead, while that is filling in, what we can actually do is fix up this outline, which I forgot to do earlier, and also chuck some waves here, because it's currently a very steady beach, which doesn't make sense because it's a pretty big ocean. So let's do that. And there we go, I think that's looking much better. I am actually losing some happiness because of unreliable healthcare coverage, so I think the solution to that is to simply up the budget on healthcare and death care. So let's reset that back to 100. We are now losing money, but hopefully that changes, because if our happiness goes up, theoretically we'll have more people moving in, so, you know, more tax. So we'll see how that goes. Like I said, guys, happiness is going up, and with it, all that money is coming in, so that's really, really good. And our demand for more housing has shot straight back up as well, so that's also pretty good. I was also worried about traffic coming in here with all the people moving in, but as you can see, this roundabout is actually handling it pretty well, so that's surprisingly not a problem as of yet. So I think it's time we finish up this new beach town by just plopping in the remainder of the houses. Potentially some parks and trees and things, and then we'll be able to move back to the main town. So let's get in and do that. And there we go. I would call that a day, I think. If we look at the overhead view, it's all filled in. And I'm actually really happy with this. The only gap is this sort of square bit here with some trees, which I think I'll probably squeeze some sort of park in there later once I unlock them. But overall, I think I'm really, really happy with this. I did try to only use the lower level houses when I was plopping. There are some high level houses, but hopefully not too many, because I do want them to actually level up, as the city grows. I think that makes sense. But this is really good. So if we just zoom in here, we've got the main street here, which is some, medium density housing and row houses and stuff like that, which I think makes sense. And of course, we've got the block that we hand placed down here. I'm really happy with this. I think it looks so cool with the taller row houses behind the shops because they have such a good view of the water. And this would be really good real estate. But the majority of it all is just more low density. A lot of hand placed stuff and stuff that was moved around. But yeah, I'm really happy with this, I think. Alright, so I think the last thing I want to do in this episode is just get some more services in because we have sort of ignored them for a bit whilst we've been doing this expansion. But the main thing is we need some schools. I'd like to get a primary school in and a high school. They'll probably go over in the main part of town for the moment. But I do think eventually we'll have, a couple schools over this side as well. But for the moment, let's get this area filled in. If you remember in the first episode, I identified this area as a good spot for a primary school. So I'm going to get working on that now. I think the base game small elementary school is going to be best just because we can upgrade it. And it takes 400 students at the moment, which is plenty. In fact, we only have 62 kids that are eligible for primary school, so that's actually more than enough. Now looking at our eligibility, we do actually need a high school, probably more importantly than an elementary school. So we're going to get that in as well. I'm actually thinking we're going to put it on this side of the main road. Obviously there's a bit of a gap there at the moment, which will slowly fill in, because this is sort of the gradient area between the main town and the industrial area. So we don't want to pack it in with too many houses or anything like that. But I think having a school there would be a pretty good idea. So let's find a way to get the small high school in. I'm going to use this asset as well because it can be upgraded with a sports park, which is quite a good thing, I think. And once again, we haven't unlocked parks or sport parks yet. So this is sort of the only way to get something like that in the city. So I think what I'm going to do is have a somewhat of a main road coming at this angle, almost parallel to that road actually. Just like that. And we'll connect that up to the main road with a 90-degree angle. And I think just in here is a good spot for the school. Let's plop that just there. The terrain is not very level here though, I did not think about that. I might get rid of this road here, I'm not too sure yet. We'll leave it for the moment. And let's see what we can upgrade. Oh, well the more you know. I can't get the upgrade on the school until I've unlocked that node anyway, so ignore the point entirely that I made before. I guess I can't really do anything then. There are other services that we still need, such as a fire department and a police department, so we might as well get that in there as well. That'll boost our XP and get us closer to unlocking parks anyway. So it's sort of a win-win. I do think for the moment I want to try and keep most of the city services in this sort of area, near where we've got the small medical clinic already. Just because it's sort of central, it could cover a bit of the area by the beach as well. So it's probably a good idea. So we're going to start with the police station, and I actually think the UK police station looks really, really good. And it should fit in this area well because this is sort of going to be the old town area. It's the first part we developed. So having some older looking buildings in this area would be quite cool. And the UK buildings definitely have that feel. So I'm going to chuck that here. And I'm then going to extend this lane a bit just so they can get to this car park. I won't put it all the way through, but just to there is good. And we'll put a fire department over in this section. Probably only need a small one, so maybe the northeast is a good idea. In fact, if we use this, we could probably put it right on the main road and surround it with some medium density blocks. So let's do that. We'll put it there. There we go, and that is all our money spent. We are down to 15,000, and we're losing money. So I think I need to fix the service budget a bit at the moment, because fire and rescue, they weren't super important. They weren't absolutely vital. So let's lower them down just a bit, maybe 60 for each. And our education budget as well, because we do not need that many kids in school just as of yet. Do 60 as well. And just like that, our money's going back up, which is sweet. So with those in, I'm going to hand place this block now, similar to what we did over by the shoreline, which we did with this block. I'm going to do something a bit similar, using some potentially slightly older assets. But let's get in here and make it look good. I have unlocked the British Heath pub, which I think will look pretty good on this block, so we're going to get that in here. There we go, I filled that block up with some medium density housing as well as some shops along the front, and I think it's looking pretty good. I tell you what, some of these buildings were spawned with some wacky colours though, that's for sure. So with that done, I'm going to end this episode here. I think I'm really happy with how the beach town turned out. I wasn't expecting to spend that much time on it, but I'm really glad I did because it is looking so good. So this does mean that hopefully in the next episode, that is where we'll most likely be revisiting the main old town, I'm going to refer to it as. So obviously we built that block there and added some services, but in the next episode we're really going to go through the street along the river, or the lake, whatever what you want to call it, and really get that looking good. Maybe add some boats and stuff in there as well. But yeah, so if you guys enjoyed this episode, please do leave a like on it. It really helps me out. Also leave a comment down below. What do you want to see me do in this series? What do you think of it so far? I really enjoy reading all your comments, so get down there. But anyway, that'll do it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.